I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Here we go.
Welcome to the Mind Growth Mission podcast. It's your host, David Schweit. And I started this platform and this podcast because I wanted somewhere people could go to see and hear inspiring stories and really get a feel what it's really like out there to hustle, be an entrepreneur, get out of your comfort zone, do things that just stand out. And for the normal people looking to try something new or sacrifice and overcome and go through trials and tribulations and still come out of it not only okay but with greatness. And today I have a special guest for that, and I call this the Mind Growth Mission is because I really want to focus on like mindset, performance, growth in multiple different areas. The guest I have today, he's in neuroscience. He's got an exercise science background, nutritionist background, several other certifications. He's doing work that only a few people in the world even do. He's wrote a book. He's an author. But it's my good friend, UNC Charlotte alumni, my buddy Abe Al-baba. What's up, man?
What's happening? Appreciate the intro, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you're doing now. Love to see it.
Yeah, man. But you're a special breed, man. And I'm glad I read through this article because I know you as a friend, but I don't know as much of your personal story and some of your background and some of that come up. And it's just really inspiring. And it honestly, I about came to tears about it because I know the sacrifice it takes for a lot of these entrepreneurs that I've spoke with, and you know the grind they had to go through, the sacrifices they had to make. For your case, share with the audience, man. And I see your fuel, your performance, your book behind you that you did 5 years worth of research, and we'll get to that. But let's talk about the young Abe and the come up, man. So tell me what life was like for you, and what all you went through early on.
Yeah, man. Shoot, it's been a ride, and you know sometimes I look back and I'm like, damn, like how did I make it here alive? Everyone goes through things, you know. Life is hard. Like we have a lot of pain and suffering in life, and we definitely have our ups, but it comes with the downs, and we have to persevere. So throughout, you know, my early childhood, everything was great. My family was doing really well. We had a car business, and then we built a gas station, and then that's kind of when everything started to go down. At this point, though, it was like middle school. We had a 5,000 square foot house. We had a yacht, 4 jet skis. Like, you know, I know you talked about that. Like, dude, he would come out every weekend. We would go out on the boat all day, like amazing times. And then my parents wanted to build this gas station. And as they were building it, they honestly didn't know like how to manage it properly. Like they're like, oh, this is a good idea. People are making money on it, and didn't really look into the logistics. But on top of that, they also built it when East Independence was going under major construction. And we were kind of like right off the freeway. So us, along with 100 other businesses, like went under from this construction. We also were post 9/11, and that's when all the gas prices were going crazy. And really, gas stations make their money on the inside, not the outside. So our business got crushed, and long story short, we lost everything, man. House went bankrupt. My parents got divorced. And I had to like really start working for myself since 14, really. Now my parents still provided roof over my head and food, but like anything else outside of that, I didn't even want to like give them the burden. Like I didn't want them to worry about me. So I manned up, and, you know, I got jobs and working as a cook in the back at Vinny's in downtown Matthews. I don't know if you ever remember that spot, but oh man. And I learned a lot about hard work, you know, ethic, working in the kitchen. But above that, man, I think sports and specifically wrestling has really taught me so much more than that sport. Uh, Mental toughness, which you cannot like replace. We need that in life, and that teaches you how to persevere. It teaches you resilience and just that work ethic. And I think that's really. I tip my hat to wrestling coach and that sport. I mean, even if you look at UFC, like all the top, champions were all wrestlers. And if you got kids, man, you want them to be successful, wrestling. Like if you look at like some of the most successful CEOs, they have a wrestling background. Like that sport really teaches you a lot because you got to go 3 months of freaking starving yourself and if you want to make weight and stuff, and like the ridiculous amount of physical demand that sport asks for. And I
Yeah.
think as a Muslim, I have to like fast during Ramadan every month. So learning resilience and self-control, self-discipline from that. So it's been a road, man, and that was like high school, and that was all tough. But then college, like, couldn't even afford the first year. Thank God my mom did tax returns, and I remember the tax return was like negative 90,000. So when I finally got financial aid, they were like, "Here you go, man. Like, go get your education." So that's kind of, and that wind me up at UNC Charlotte where I met you.
Yeah, dude, amazing story though. I mean, that's the humble beginnings that I love to hear, and why I do this. It just goes to show, no matter what place you're coming from, you can make something of yourself. And I think that belief in yourself, man, started with something like that sport, probably that wrestling aspect, because it's like a one-on-one mentality. Like you really got to dig deep within yourself for a sport like that, right? So the mentality, the mental game of it is just, you got to be super strong in that, and that teaches you a lot. And then you mentioned the physical aspect. Obviously, I love sports as well, and I know it teaches you a lot there. I was more on the other end with team sports, which I think that helped with the social aspect with others and whatnot, I would say. But as far as wrestling, man, it's funny you bring that up, because a guy I interviewed a couple episodes ago, Adam Howland, who's now working for the White House in a military advisor role, he attributes success to wrestling too, and he's worked his way up the ladder. Lieutenant colonel, corporal, whatever rank in the Space Force that he had. He's worked hard to get there, but he attributed a lot to that sport. So that's awesome. You bring that up, and I was just watching stuff about fighters last night, and talking to my barber actually today about fighters and how tough they are. So that mental toughness is, people learn it in different ways, but if you want to point one finger, it sounds like that sport really helped you. What are some other things that maybe going through college? You mentioned being Muslim, things like that. What are some things that were other challenges maybe early on that you had to overcome, or that made you stronger in different ways?
You know what? I didn't even think of that, but yeah, growing up as a Muslim in the South, my,
Yeah.
I was in seventh grade when 9/11 happened, and like, the word terrorist comes across, and like Taliban, like all these different things, Saudi Arabia, and like I'm always the one Muslim in every class, honestly. And, everyone's looking at me. So, you definitely feel this way of like some kind of blame. You're already like, you're the elephant in the room. You got to defend yourself for no reason, just being, who you are. So that definitely, it taught me a lot, man. It taught me, working through like racism, like, people calling you all kinds of names. Same,
Man, high school was harsh, man. Like
yeah,
growing up,
man.
people are harsh.
Yeah, man, and like starting fights, and like, yeah, man, I got into a lot of fights in middle school over that, and having to defend, myself. Even my brother, like he was like a senior in high school at the time, and I remember this one player from Providence was like whispering in his ear like a bunch of racist slurs, and like tripping him, and like punching him, jabbing him, and experiencing different things. My cousins, man, got rammed off the road by an 18 wheeler because they wore the hijab, like the scarf on their head, the burqa. and they were literally rammed off the road, like on the highway. It's just, so my family went through a lot during that, but also taught us again our resilience, and we have much pride. We love having the opportunity in America, and it for me it taught me like a lot about humbleness, and then also learning the perspective of other people and not blaming them for their hatred, man. They just don't know. They're not familiar. And Matt Houston, man, he's a typical country boy. One of my best friends.
I was hoping you'd bring him up.
Yeah, yeah, he was in the neighborhood, and like his parents didn't know anything about. I mean, really didn't know, and I mean nothing. I mean nothing, which was fine.
Yeah.
They were really nice people that like wanted to learn more and asked,
Right.
weren't as scared to ask the questions. Like even though if they made you sound dumb or whatever, like who cares? Like just have the conversation. So I think part of it is always trying to put myself in other people's shoes is kind of what I learned from all of that, and try to understand their perspective and have a little more compassion for that person. And
Mm.
they're not mad at you, they're mad at something else, honestly,
Yeah.
honestly.
I think that makes you effective in what you do, man, with exercise science, sports medicine, neuroscience, helping others heal, right? And you really got to get to know them on a different level or deeper level, or just find those common bonds, those common threads to really help that relationship and to grow your business, and to just grow with that individual so they trust you, right? So I'm sure you learned a lot out of that, and it taught you a lot. But yeah, that I don't know what it was like to go through something like that, but I'm sure it was tough on you, man. So for you to come out the way you are on this side of it, I love that about you, and I respect that a ton. And we both like to travel and embrace other cultures and really just fall in love with that wherever we're at, And I think that's something that for me, I think I got from my parents and my upbringing, and they wanted to bring me around that stuff. But, well, what is it for you that kind of got you into that? Because I know you've been working your butt off for 10 plus years, 15 years, whatever it is. And just recently, you've been doing some epic traveling trips, which hopefully we'll get to. But what is it that brings you to want to bridge the gap in those different cultures and whatnot?
Yeah, it started in when I graduated high school. My brother took me on like a surfing trip in Costa Rica, and I met all these people that like had nothing, man. And back then, Costa Rica wasn't the same as it is now. This is 2000. They have a saying over there, "Pura vida," which means pure life, and they were all just so content with so little. And which reminds me, I'm half Palestinian, half Lebanese, and my people have been through a lot. And that's the same way, they're smiling, they're joking, like whatever. And like, being in America, we're so stuck on like materialism, and like we're really not thankful and grateful for freaking roof over your head, the sunshine, like trees, like free stuff that literally
Yeah.
I can get into the science behind it too. It might sound foo-foo, but it is real, man. It's a bioenergetic charge that we get from the earth it's called grounding, when we ground with the earth. So, the fact that these guys like they have nothing but yet are so happy, I think I like really like resonated with that. And
Mm.
I like languages. Like, I'm pretty good at Spanish. I'm pretty good at Arabic, and I,
Yeah,
I
Abe,
love.
you're cracking me up in Colombia with your Spanish, bro. Your Spanglish.
Yeah, man.
But no, you were killing it, bro. You were killing it.
Yeah, once you're in the culture and you're going, like, you get that
Yeah,
confidence.
yeah,
Um,
I was loving that. But
yeah, man.
no. So another episode I had where it talks about what you were just talking about, like gratitude and like deep rooted, just being thankful for things around you, is with Dr. G. Carmen, who's a chiropractor out here, but she's a super successful entrepreneurial woman. But that's a good episode to check out. But I just wanted to plug that in because I think it ties into what you were saying. There's so much stuff around us that we should be grateful and thankful for. And we get away from that. It's all the material things. It's because the way we show appreciation to things in the U.S. is different than in other countries, I'd say. I mean, sports are everywhere here, and we glorify that, and we pay premium dollar for that and our entertainment and all of our streaming services, stuff at our fingertips. You know, we got the social media platforms like crazy, and, you know, most of them started in America. So it's just, like you said, a cultural thing. We get away from just the simple things that make life enjoyable, right? So I love the fact you brought that up, man.
Yeah, connection. I think another big part is like history and learning like other cultures. I actually did a post on it. So I just got back from, I did 10 countries and like 33 cities in 2 months. It was a lot, but experienced a lot, saw a lot, gained a lot of knowledge. And above all, man, like every time I've had a new country every year rule for the past, I think, 10 years. And you really don't need like crazy amounts of money to make that happen, by the way. That's a BS excuse. Just freaking do it. Save money. Don't go out like a couple weekends in a row. Don't go eat out at a restaurant every night. You'll have money for that trip, guarantee it.
And me and you both live in big cities now, so at the end of the day, sacrificing a couple weekends, you can save quite a bit now, especially how much things costing in our cities.
Yeah, I really realize like we're all at the end of the day, yeah, people do things way different, but at the end of the day, we are still human. We're all human. We need water, we need food, we need to connect. We have our family, we have our friends. Like it's all the same stuff. Like if you see how cities are built, it's all around these like little things that us humans need, and we all do the same things just a little differently. And it's so silly how people focus on like the little differences. Like, man, we're all the same. It's just
Yeah. I know what you mean, man. I've been realizing that obviously as time goes on, like the things that I find enjoyable now are different. It's more about that experience and the things around me, the free stuff, as you called it earlier, man. That's making an impact in my life and has changed the way I look at things and helped me live in the more like gratitude fulfilled state, right? And but no, I love that. So let's go into your college career. Obviously, you were in sports. You decided to do exercise science. But what led you there, and what led you along the path, and what did that look like?
yeah, man. Freshman year, totally undecided. No clue.
Like most of
My
us.
right. My brothers, thankfully, man. My two older brothers. Uh, One went the corporate America, did everything everyone told him to do, and tried to work up the corporate ladder. Hated it. And then the older brother, that's the oldest brother, then the middle brother followed his passion. And at the end of the day, they both told me, find your passion, follow your passion. So my first year, I just took anything I was interested in. And then I met a girl who ran track. I don't know if you remember Savannah, but yeah, so she ran track, and she also her major was exercise science. I was like, wait, there's a major on working out? Like what? I played. I did football, wrestling, lacrosse, and I even did some ultimate frisbee. And I was all about it. I was like, sign me up. And yeah, man. Fast forward, degree in that, and just want to point out, science was my weakest subject all my life. So really, if you're interested in something and passionate about something, it doesn't matter if you're weak at it. You're just going to work that much harder. And honestly, I got that degree on literally hard work. Like, man, shout out David Steele. He unfortunately passed away, but that's my homie, man. He like really made me like study. Like he would break things down, because like people would read science stuff and like the terminology and stuff would come easy to them, and I'm like, yo, hold on, like can you break that down? So he would put things down in like layman terms for me, and like I really wouldn't have graduated without that guy. And so shout out to him. And that's another thing. Talk about resilience. I've had a lot of people pass away, and that's given me, I guess, there's two ways that can change you, that can make you go to the dark side and question everything, and is there a God, and why would he allow these things to happen, or it gets you closer. Fortunately for me, it got me closer. I lost probably about 15 people since the age of 20. And, you know, that the first one was like my best friend all my life. That was my cousin, my road dog since like seriously like 1 years old or something. Like we used to play with each other. And then even, you know, throughout high school, you went to Myers Park, right?
What?
Which high school did you go to? I forget.
Nah, I'm not even from Charlotte. I'm from Davie County, so like an hour away. But
Yeah, okay.
I'm familiar with Myers Park. I see those kids at the gym all the time since I live in the area now
Oh,
here.
right.
So
Okay. No, that's what it is. You live in now. Anyway,
yeah.
he went there. And yeah, man, that was like really tough. And then a couple months later, one of my best childhood friends passed away. And a couple months later, I mean, his death came in threes. I don't know if you know Ric Flair, but the pro wrestler, I was like really good friends with his son. We wrestled together. We were like best of friends, and then he passed away. So it was a lot, especially at 20 years old. And you know, you really learn how to be resilient, right? And fortunately for me, like I am what I am today from that. So I'm a half full kind of guy. I'm always positive, optimistic. Anything bad that happens to me, I look at like there's some kind of positive I'm gaining out of this. And even when it comes to a lot of people that I've lost, I feel now that anyone I talk to that has lost someone, I can help that person now. I know what they're going through, and I kind of know like what to say and whatnot. But anyway,
That's what I was going to say is that your ability to express it is because you've been through that pain and you've been deep within it and you've had the time to heal yourself through it and really focus on the things that matter for you to kind of move on, right? And your appreciation of these people and how you just talk about them as if they're still here. You know, it's very important. You know, I think when people touch your life like that, you got to use it to help excel your life, right? I look around, I see my successful friends like you and others that I'm close with, and I'm like, yo, that's me as well. Like I can do it. You know, I'm ready to take on the next thing. Or if I see somebody like failing, I want to lift them up, or it drives me to push even harder, right? Because I want to just be there, be the better person in my life, better version of myself, so that I can help others through these times and know that and be kind of an inspiration. I'm sure the same for you, man. You've had a chip on your shoulder throughout, and I'm sure that carries over for you and with you, and it's helped propel you to these new heights and these different mountains you keep climbing. And I love that about you. I remember one of our last talks, you were talking about how you invested in yourself, but let's go before that financial investment and the investing on yourself recently. Back when you were doing the exercise science coming up, it's funny, you're like the third person I've interviewed that did exercise science through UNC
oh,
Charlotte. So there's something to that, you know. But it's Chris Fitzmaurice and Aaron
oh, no,
Kaufman and Aaron Kaufman, and
yeah,
they're all having
Chris.
great careers, man.
Yeah, Chris. What's he? I know he did grad school too, and then what's he doing now? I remember seeing something. He's super.
University of Miami, group exercises, all that. So his podcast episode is about how he has dealt with autism and
Yeah.
moved on through that throughout his life, and what he's accomplishing now in the sports medicine world, right? And I think he's getting like a second grad degree at Miami currently. But he's a beast, man. I love that kid to death, just like I love you. And then I had Aaron on recently, just released his episode, and he ended up going to Duke University for physical therapy, and he actually just switched careers. So he's one of those that, you know, he's inspiring for many reasons, but one of the main reasons I had him on is because, you know, he's done the 15 years in his chosen path, his early chosen path, but he decided to switch it up like completely. And with you, you dug in even deeper and doubled down on yourself. So I want to talk about that, man. Like not even knowing or not even liking science and not even knowing what the heck any of that means and having somebody help you through it. That's a super key to get you where you're at. So tell me more about like that time and how you transition into finding the pieces to the puzzle that led you where you're at today.
Yeah, so I was in Charlotte, graduated. I did what I had to do. I played lacrosse, school full time, and then I had to find like I had to support myself. That's why I worked at the nightlife because I was done partying, but I wanted to focus on school during the week. So nightlife industry gave me the ability to work during the weekends. So I did what I
So
had to
I would
do.
see Abe about every weekend because of that.
Yeah. Swiping now, texting me, hey man, me plus like 10 people. I'm like, dude, come on.
Appreciate you, man. I never got to like truly thank you. So this is the official
Yeah,
thank you.
it made him look good quite a few times, people. That's fun though. So I made ends meet with that, and then I had an older brother in San Diego, where I live now, and I knew it was like the mecca of like health and wellness, like San Diego, LA. So I was like, man, I want to learn from the best, and that's where I need to go. So I packed up all my bags, and yeah, man, came out here. I stacked up, and it's not like I planned it. I actually took an ex girlfriend out to California, and when we got back from that trip, she's like, why do we live here? I was like, oh, like we got, good life, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but it's so amazing out there. I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Like my excuse was always like, all right, school, I need to be there around like for the family and stuff like that. And like, I just got to a point, I was like, yeah, why do I? All right. And then my apartment was going up $300 for my next year lease. And I was like, no, I'm not signing. So I said, screw it. Packed my bags, and my brothers, they had a friend whose a room opened up, and I moved in, man. So came out there with I saved up like 20K, and I was like, all right, this is 2012. I was probably 22, man. I had like 20K in the bank, which is like pretty good. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and I came out and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take my time and like get something I really want. I'm just not gonna get like any job, right? So I start interviewing, like getting a job was like my job, right? And I wanted to work at like this top shelf gym. And it was a 7-step interview process. Like it was so ridiculous. And it was like phone interview, in-person interview. There was a freaking test. There was a in-person, like I had to train the trainers and I had to explain everything. Like it was very, very thorough. And I had to put together a business plan. Anyway, I did all this stuff and like they were like blown away. I still crushed it. And then I never got a call back. Not even the decency of like, we just went like nothing, never heard nothing. So that like got me down. And but anyway, I made ends meet. I worked at this little studio that ended up where we trained like the mayor of San Diego, various people. And out of this little studio, man, there was another trainer there. His name's Chad Macias, who's now a molecular oncologist. He was a professor at USD, and he would tell me things like he'd tell me like he trained a UFC fighter, Phil Davis. I'm like, what? And at that time, Phil Davis was like big name. I was like, what? You like when, where, like, and then he would like explain like scientific stuff about exercises. I'm like, dude, when can I shadow you? Like, I didn't care. I wanted to learn. He's like, yeah, true. Anyway, and then I started shadowing him for like 2 years, man, giving my time, learning. He was explaining things to me. So I started to like see like bigger picture and like the deep depths of like training with science, right? And I was always like, I'm just type A, so it kind of worked out. And dude, through him, like it just gave me the mentality of like, look for that something different and like just completely kill it and crush it. So I took that and I rolled with it, and then I went to like one of the top gyms, got hired, and like started to really like blow up my clientele and stuff like that. And then at that gym, there was a guy doing like vision drills, one of the trainers. I'm like, I was like, hey man, I don't know what the heck you doing, but like, what's up? Like, yeah, he just looked at me. He's like, like, like he didn't like really explain. I was like, all right, man, I'll find out for myself. And my mentor Chad would say things about the brain. Would be training like an athlete, and he'd be like, nervous system shut down. Like we're done for the day, or like tune out. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And he'd just be like, like he didn't even want to explain it because it was too in depth, right? So anyway, I start to learn that this curriculum with the guy who was doing vision drills was a curriculum called Z Health, and it used basically applied neuroscience. And I was like, what? What is this? And man, I went all in with another couple other trainers at that gym, and man, it's just been such a game changer. Never in a million years would I have thought, published author, freaking doing applied neuroscience and talking about the stuff I'm talking about today. So it's just testament. It's honestly the work ethic. But you know, those certifications were like 2,500 a pop, and I have I finished the whole curriculum about, and I didn't have that money. But you know what? Like we were talking about, like I invest in myself. I saw this is gonna separate me from all the rest because San Diego is like super saturated, man. Like training, I looked it up. The average career span for a personal trainer is 2 years. You know,
Wow.
I'm sitting near at like 15 plus right now. You know what I'm saying? It's very sink or swim. Not to mention even worse in San Diego. So you have to separate yourself from the others, and you know, that's what I did, man. I threw it on a credit card. I was like, I even was trying to save money on gas, so I wouldn't fly. I would drive. Some of the courses were in Berkeley, so I'd drive to Berkeley. On Berkeley, this app doesn't even exist anymore. It was called like Zip Recruiter or something, and basically like I could put in like I'm driving San Diego to Berkeley, and if you're on the way, I'll pick you up, and then you pay me kind of like a little
Yeah.
hitching.
Little shuttle service.
Yeah, and I did that, and I had a blast. By the way, I ended up staying at a frat house, so I wouldn't pay for hotels. Like packing all my food, like doing everything that I can, and I did that for a couple years in these courses, and then I started to make more money because I was getting like ridiculous results, getting people out of pain when they've been in pain for 10 plus years, and I'll get them out of pain in one session.
Yeah.
Give me the ability to
I love some of the examples I saw in the article that you sent over that I read here about like how they were battling stuff for years and not making any progress. And then you get a hold of them, Abe gets a hold of them here and changes their life right then. And even somebody that's blind, I was reading and everything else. And I was just like, yeah, man, I mean, you're meant to do what you're doing. And that's just more validation, right, to all the things that you've already done. And one of the things I want to speak on before we get too far is how you were changing your environment early on. You were seeking the best, so you knew that it would take some sacrifice. So you're like, hey, I got to make it happen no matter what. So you took that as, hey, let me get out of my comfort zone, get into the environment that's going force me to step my game up and excel, right? And you put the pedal to the metal, stepped on the gas, and then you rode with that, and then you consistently invested in yourself. And no matter the sacrifice of financial dollars and time and everything else to go along with it, I mean, you were just making it happen no matter what mentality. And with that no matter what mentality, it's led you to where you're at today. And I still feel like you're early on, that the sky's the limit still, that you got so much more you're going to do, improve, man, which is something I want to get to here as well. But tell me, so we're at this path where you're in San Diego, you're starting to get your bearings, and you've invested, you got these certifications now, and a field that's really unique. So not only did you start more generalized, you found a couple things that were unique and more niche, and that's where you concentrated your energy and knew you could stand out more that way. But sounds like you fell in love with it too. And then you had like a mentor, You had other people doing different things that you kind of learned and molded from. So what are some things that evolved from that point on to help you kind of get your name and your brand out to maybe stand out, whereas you were working with people that kind of already stood out, it sounds like.
Yeah. So environment's definitely key. You know, surround yourself. I do truly believe in that, and I definitely was surrounded by not people that were weighing me down, but like weren't going too many areas, you know, to
I understand.
different mindsets, and I was kind of sick of always like taking care of those people, you know. So like, and I'm still kind of learning that a little bit, and but and your environment is key because that's what's gonna feed you. You're gonna have different conversations with those people, and then also instead of, I think it's good to compare yourself to like for the gratitude, compare yourself to people who have things way worse. So always have that humility, but then also have that drive. Compare yourself to like the tip top, who's at the top and what they're doing. Like that's why I'm still not definitely where I want to be, but I'm just gonna continue to strive to keep building myself. But I think the education is one key element. The application of that education. But one thing, because I ended up, you know, I've gotten like MVP in my sports, like you know, I've definitely got different accolades, but again, I think it goes back to the work ethic and also like customer service in a way and like serving other people, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I got like top VIP manager, you know, in Charlotte Elevate magazine, and I think that's because I took it seriously as far as like, okay, yeah, sure, we're selling like VIP bottle service, but I was still like I went over and beyond people, and I think it's like I genuinely just like care about people, making sure they're having a good time and or like not having to go through pain, not you know getting them to their goals, especially as athletes as well. Um, so I think that customer service aspect is huge and being genuine. You know,
Yeah.
people will see through the BS if you're not true. You know, and true to yourself. So
Yeah, I think that is key, man, to be like genuine. That's why you got to follow, like you said earlier, find your passion and follow that and let that be the driving force. Because that's going to allow you to take on that servant leadership and that serving others mentality, which is where you hear the best, most successful people talk. They say that once they put their why in a perspective of helping others, that's when things excelled for them, right? That's when it took off because they're thinking about the other people on the other side that are benefiting from the experience with them and whatnot, or their product or whatever. They're thinking about the other person, not the greed of it and me, right? It's that how can I serve? How can I help? And I mean, whenever I'm around you, I feel that about you, you know? So it's just something within you that I know you've worked on over time, but it's something you've been really aware of and use that awareness to help you out in your career and personal life and other things. And it's something I think you can continue to grow and hone in on, right? And I'm working on that every day myself, man. So I love that, and I love that you brought that up. So tell me, I mean, at that point, I mean, to be in a career path like this, you got to be wanting to help others and serve others. That has to be to your core and to the root of you. So tell me, I mean, how do you think it was able to take off from where we're at right now in the story?
um, well, I think one of the other tools too that wasn't mentioned, through the divorce of my parents, my brothers were already like graduated and in their careers and not living in Charlotte at that time. So I was really the only one at 15 was uh, dealing with the situation and being in the middle. And what that did force me, you know, my mom would say all these things about my dad, and my dad just wouldn't say anything. And like,
Hmm.
sift through the BS and maybe find some kind of true answer. And then through that, I've been gifted with, you know, perspective and sympathy and sometimes even empathy. So I think having that skill has like, you know, really resonating with someone when they tell you I've been in pain for 10 years and I've seen 20 doctors and, you know,
Hmm.
I don't have, like, so really showing that you have some kind of, empathy for that person, I think has been some of the recipe for my success. And I think through being given the tools to help heal that person has been all really like what's catapulted this whole thing. And somehow I ended up getting top trainer in San Diego, and like that's like one of the top markets. Like never in a million years would I have thought any of this stuff, but honestly, man, dude, hard work. Like honestly, that's where it all.
Yeah. How much, because I want the audience that's listening to hear this and truly have an appreciation and respect for it and know if they want to pursue something, what it takes. So how much did you truly have to sacrifice, and what are some of those things you sacrifice, especially maybe early on in your career and during certain transition periods for you?
Oh man, early 20s, like my nights, my weekends, like I was writing a book and I was already working like a madman. And okay, just to paint the picture, I was always like the top trainer in my gym, and I held it down there for like a year and a half, and no one beat me. And 1 month, this guy from Australia, Scotty, that's my homie, another hard worker, and he beat me 1 month. The managers made it like a whole like fun competition between us, and he beat me 1 month. And he looked at me, he goes, "Mate, never again, mate, never again," because like it's a lot of work. So on that, I was working those insane hours. I was actually like on the side working at like an Omnia on the weekends, and then
Which
I
is a nightclub.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to like gain the network that I got in Charlotte through the nightlife industry, and I kind of wanted that in San Diego, so that's kind of why I did that. I just did it for a year. It was fun. But then I started writing this book, which took me 5 years, and the nights, every night, man, I'd have this like crazy schedule, and then my lunch breaks at night, I'd sacrifice not like telling all my friends like, Matt, can't make it, can't make it, can't make it, doing this. And yeah, man, aside from missing out on things, um, you get into you get on yourself. But thankfully, like I'm always like optimistic, and like I saw the big picture, it's like, all right, man, this is just like life is so much harder than this, like people you love, and like my parents going through a divorce, going bankrupt. So it's like, whatever, you're going to sacrifice this little bit for such a bigger picture. And, I'm grateful I can help so many more people with this book without me even talking to them, because it's like a self-help guided book. And, to me, that's worth it. If I have people that tell me I did X, Y, and Z, and like I'm pain free, I'm super energetic, I've lost weight, whatever, I'm like more confident in myself, that's worth it to me. I don't know if that I forgot even what the question was, but
Nah, I'm getting lost in the sauce, man, because it's true. Like those sacrifices, the commitments you make to yourself, and just knowing that it's for the betterment of your success later, right? These things you do have to do. Even now, it's probably sunny. It's San Diego. It's probably nice outside. You could be doing stuff outside, but it's like 4:30 p.m. and you're sitting here with me, sacrificing some of your day, some of your time to help me out, right? Like that's the type of person you are. So with that comes things down the road that helps you out, right? Because you're willing to do these things that are important to you, that you see the bigger picture later on them, right? A lot of people live in the here and now, and that's great, but look at it from a perspective of how is this benefiting me? How is it getting me closer to my goals? How is it going to help me later, right? And we've talked about it. You got some podcast interviews coming up where you're being interviewed again, and you got some other things like your book and your profession itself, where you really have to brand yourself. So you got to put yourself out there in these uncomfortable situations. So I was just talking about the things that you sacrificed, and obviously nights, weekends, time, really letting all these things consume you to make the book that took you 5 years, to educate yourself, which took you well beyond that amount of time. But what are some of these other things you can say for people that, if you want to get closer to your goal, here's what it takes, here's what it looks like.
Yeah, man. First of all, your mind will always hold you back. One small example, I think it's said that it's whenever you think like you ain't got nothing more left, like when you want to quit, you have 30% more left in the tank. So that could be physically applied, whether that be a workout, reps, whether that be, running, whatever. Think about that. 30% more left in the tank. Like the human body continues to amaze me. So you have to have that mindset, that resilience to push through, man. We can so much. Like it's just we quit and have some compassion for yourself. Okay, why do we quit? Because our brain is completely wired to survive. That's its number one goal. Not surviving in 5 years, not 3 years, right this second. So based on the information it's got right at that second, it's going to say, all right, here's how we can survive. So the governor is set way earlier than it should be as a protective mechanism, so we survive. So, but you got to push through that governor. You got to have that mindset of like, fuck, I can do this. Like, I can push. Like, I don't have a boss. Like, that's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur. You ain't got a boss. So, yeah, we're talking about what really excelled me. Other than the education, I hired a mentor. I remember it was $6,000 on a mentor, and it was like a course and whatever, but I definitely learned like a lot of things in that. And then just this past year when you were visiting me, I just spent another $14,000 on a business mentor. It was a lot of money, but guess what? I doubled my income the first 2 months after that course. So and it come back tenfold,
Amazing.
So
Love that.
so like long. Sometimes it's either long-term goals or very short-term goals, but you got to look at all of them. It's like, all right, if you continue to do the habits that you're doing every day right now, where are you going to be at in 5 years? Where are you going to be at in 10? We don't look at that or the very short end of that stick.
Yeah, the example I think of as you're telling that, and that's a perfect image of what it takes, right? Like you can actually push a little further, a little harder at those times where it's like the toughest on you, right? You can still push and give a little bit extra. And that brings me back to being in phone sales in that call center environment. People wanted to check out, man. It's such a mental game, right? And I don't blame them. Like burnout's real in that environment, right? You got to hit your numbers, but it would always be the case where, every so often, people would be ready to check out and then we'd be like, do one more call, just take one more. And guess what? So many times I can't even count where that call ended up being a deal or a sell, right? They might have had to stick around the office for a couple more hours when they were about to leave, right? But they got a deal out of it. And how much better did they feel and how much more accomplished did they feel just for pushing that bit extra? And that tends to add up over time, right? You're getting these wins. They're small wins, small wins, small wins here, and then they become big wins. It creates momentum that equals something much, much greater later, right? So that's a perfect example, and I love that you shared that. So getting to that, man, and the investment piece here and your career field, what would you say for the people that are personal trainers or entrepreneurs and they're trying to really just grow their business or grow their brand? I mean, there's obviously things that work for you, like the book and investing in yourself, but what are some things, just me and you talking here, hey, this is Abe Al-baba, this is what I think it takes. What are some of the things from your perspective?
Yeah. Number one is being passionate. Like if you're not passionate about what you're doing, like honestly forget about it. Because at those times when it's those nights, those weekends, I couldn't tell you how many Christmases I didn't go out of town because I stayed and I ended up being the only trainer there. So guess what? They're signing up with your boy. Like, so like, but if you're not passionate about it, it's gonna seem like work. Oh, I gotta work. Like for me, it's just like I'm just out here having fun doing my thing. So when you grind on those certain crunch times, we'll call it, it won't seem as daunting. You're just doing it, crave for it. Um, so where a lot of that comes into play is energy, man. You know, a book's called Fuel Your Performance. Performance, yeah, sure, it could be an athlete running higher, jumping, faster, whatever it is. But it could be your office athlete making those sales calls. You need energy for every single thing that we do. So make sure you got the energy, because like, what do you do with more energy? How many more things can you do with more energy? Because being tired is always the excuse. So make sure you're well fueled, whether that be from food, whether that be from your environment and having connected to, your friends and having like good conversations, friends and family, being grounded with that family, with nature outside. Go outside. When's the last time you walked outside like bare feet and felt the sunshine in your face? Like it's these little things. I remember I learned it from my mentor. Make your bed every day. I think there's even a book like titled that or something.
I know there's a great YouTube video that has that Marine. That's I think part of how he like simplifies it, right? You start with that one action, like make your bed, like start your day off right, on the right foot, doing the right things, right? So builds
Yeah,
out for the rest of your day.
exactly. It sets the tone of getting shit done, you know,
Yeah.
day with accomplishing something. Um, but
And what you
optimism, man.
and what you're talking about too, that first point you made, it reminds me of what Ed Milet has talked about in his podcast before. He talks about separation season, when people lay off the gas a little bit, and you start to see that and feel that too. And it's holidays rolling around, and people are starting to chill, or it's summertime, there's stuff to do. Like that's actually when you put the pedal down a little further on the gas. That's when you're actually gonna rise to the top a bit more, and then that's when you're going to really start to shine a bit more. And that's what he calls separation season, taking advantage of those moments where a lot of people cut out, right? And then you're showing out amongst the pack. So I think that is a super key way I was able to win in sales world as well, man. But yeah, I mean, if anything else comes to mind, let me know, man. I don't mean to keep kind of cutting in here, but it just reminds me of so much. All the stuff you're saying, it's all the stuff I try to consume and surround my brain with. So I appreciate you today doing this. But anything else that's like coming to top of mind?
Yeah, like optimism, like
Hmm.
looking at every situation and find that reason why it's good, even at the worst, even with a death, even with a huge financial loss, house burnt down, whatever the case may be. Like, look for that little shred of optimism in it. And man, like, it changes your life when you look at everything half full because nothing phases
Yeah.
you. Nothing phases you. So then it doesn't drain you. It doesn't pull your energy down. You can put that energy back into, what your goal is. Um,
And
and
I think a way
and
to ask yourself that is to say this: how is this happening for me? So when something negative's going on, right? If you can't see the optimistic view of it, then ask yourself, how is this happening for me instead of to me? Right? What are some things that I can benefit from or learn from or grow from or stretch myself from this experience, right? So that just brings that to mind. But I think that's where a lot of our friends, where we see success, they are optimistic people. I would say the passionate piece is what carries people into a different realm, right? I think a lot of people can be successful without being as passionate. I think I've seen that. But I think you're talking about if you want to max out, there's these key things, and if you apply all these things you're mentioning, there's no reason you shouldn't be at the top or get, making some ground there. And I love that about you, man. You've always been that type that, when I'm around you, I just feel great because you're just that guy. And not to mention you're a great dancer. I forgot to make that part of the intro. My man Abe loves to dance, and a true people person. And I could go anywhere with you, man. And there's only a select few people that I would really like to be anywhere with, and you're one of those. And I'm glad I've got to experience some with you as of late, but can't wait for our next adventures, right? But yeah, what's one thing you think is working for you, maybe in your personal life when it comes to maybe relationships, or maybe talk about some of those pitfalls that you've had that you've really had to work through as you get older. Maybe it's because you're an entrepreneur, because you're digging deep in other areas. What are some of these things that you continue to work on that you think may be important for people to really think about or raise their awareness on as you're growing and expanding?
Well, to touch on that last one is, having something to separate yourself from the others, like what's unique about you. I don't know many trainers that are talking about the pontomedullary reticular formation, so like having something to separate yourself. I forgot to touch on that.
Yep.
But yeah, different pitfalls, relationship. You already know about that.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
it could be relationships with family, with friends. It could be anything, really. Because, like, what I know, we talked about sacrifice. What I know is that a lot of people end up having some tough things they got to go through with their relationships as they're growing and starting to really focus on their growth.
So we'll just replace that with stress. So if I am overly stressed over my relationship, something going on at work, whatever, a lot of people lack effective strategies to cope with their stress management. Um, and if they don't, or maybe they do, maybe they're not good positive ones. So you have to have in your back pocket when shit is happening, you got to have in your back pocket, like, and it's not going to be alcohol, it's not going to be drugs, and that's what a lot of people do, or even food, you know. In this mindfulness course that I do with my friend Gina, we talk about like mindfulness, and a lot of people that gain weight, maybe it's they're going through a divorce. I had a client, she was going through a divorce, and husband was like really mentally abusive, and so anyway, she would eat the feelings out because she was sad. I said, hey, I didn't give her no nutrition like um, coaching other than this. I said, hey, instead of, you know, eating, like when those feelings settle in, you're feeling down, I want you to go outside, go for a walk. And she actually decided I'm going to go play with my daughter instead. So she replaced that sad feeling with feeling happy and fulfilled by playing with her daughter. She lost 30 pounds, you know?
Mm,
So
wow.
having in your back pocket, whether that is going for a walk, for me, it's working out. All the shit that I've been through with my life, you take away working out, I'm dead. Easy. I'm
Same, bro.
right. So you got to have these stress relievers. It could be listening to music. It could be, sewing, like skate. You see me, I do skateboarding, biking, like
Mhm.
have these things in your back pocket for when recognize, all right, man, I'm stressed. I'm on edge. Like, oof, I need to go do my yoga. I need to go do some mobility work, whatever. Like, have that, light a candle. Like, I don't care.
Mhm.
Have these strategies in your back pocket. If I didn't have any of these coping mechanisms, yeah, man, I'd either be dead or severely overweight or God knows.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So a lot of
agree.
people.
I agree. And yeah, for me, I mean, that's where I relate to a lot of people like yourself. Fitness has been a big part of my life, and I think it's super important. But later in life, I'm realizing, relationships are super important. how tight you're keeping those bonds, and are they the right people to surround yourself with, as we talk about environment. And then there's also just the mental game for yourself. Like, what are you doing to actually better yourself, grow, and think positively, and think optimistically? What are you reading? What are you consuming? Are you just looking at news and looking at social media and seeing how pretty and fancy things are? Or are you educating yourself and wanting to seek more?
Follow some like positive stuff. Yes.
And I think breath work has really helped me recently in life. Just taking moments to just deeply breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and really focusing on it, helping slow things down. And I never even thought about that, 10 years ago, but it's something as simple as that that's been a game changer in instances for me and tough times for me personally. So things like that. But no, you bring up a lot of good points, man. So I would say all the same, and you even shared some that I didn't even think of. So I appreciate that. But no, I mean, the projects you're working on now, where do you want to be? What are you working on currently, and what's next for you, man?
Yeah, man. I've recently put together like a whole online program because I want to reach the masses. I want everyone to feel good, feel confident in themselves, have energy, be pain free, all those things. So I put together this online program where everything's spelled out for you. You'll literally meet me every week. We pinpoint what you have going on neurologically. We kind of touched on it, but basically I do strength conditioning or training with applied neuroscience. So your brain, like as an example, you talk about breathing. We take about 25,000 breaths a day. So I'm going to look at like what you have going on, and maybe we got a breathing problem. So if you improve the breathing, that's 25,000 more efficient breaths that your brain's getting better fuel from, better oxygen, better energy, and that's going to make a big impact on your life. So we pinpoint these individual drills that improve you and your unique brain. On top of like a program, I got programs for grandma that hasn't worked out in 20 years. I got a program for Olympic athlete, you know. So I got that going, and it comes with nutrition coaching, all kinds of things, all kinds of we have really fun, different, unique measurements to hold myself accountable and you accountable. It could be as detailed as we want or not. Like it's up to you. That's why we meet every week to make sure you're progressing. Um, that includes my book. That's where a lot of my energy is going, and then I'm teaching, getting on some podcast. My friend Gina has this mastering blood sugar course, and I'm teaching a topic on that. So yeah, man, just just keep
That's
on doing that, and I still see people in person. I still see lots of like pain relief people. I have a cancer patient right now, so we're trying to do it all naturally. I told her, give me 3 weeks because she got in, and I was like, let's see if we could, decrease this tumor. Um,
now, Chris Fitzmaurice, he's worked a lot with cancer
oh,
patients. So he's a guy that maybe you need to connect with if it's been a while, and just
yes, yeah,
pick his brain apart on some of that. Maybe he has some further recommendations. I know you got your stuff down, but there might be just that one thing that you can add, maybe, right? So, and vice versa for him, he could use what you're doing, since y'all are in similar worlds, so to speak. And then no, man, there's something about the blood sugar. I'm seeing people consume a ton of sugar and whatnot. So what has your friend Gina so passionate about that, and what made you want to be a part of that? And what are you guys teaming up on there? What's the story behind that?
oh man, my friend Gina, actually, she's the reason why my book is what it is today. Because she had written a book already. She graduated from like top program in the nation for nutrition. She became a registered dietitian. She followed everything by the book, and she got 30% results with her clients. She's like, what the heck? I'm doing everything school taught me. What's going on? And then she started tapping into the brain and mindfulness and the psychology behind eating, and that's where it's like complete game changer.
Hmm.
So she wrote this book called Mastering Mindfulness, and it talks about these things like your environment, your self-talk. So talking about like literally like negative emotions have negative charges in our brain and body and affects our cells. Like it's crazy.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, so she wrote that book, and then she pushed me to, because I had sent her the very, very early draft of my book, and she was like, "Yeah, this is cool, but what about this? What about that?" And like, I was like, "Oh my God, yeah, you're right." I, another year later, I didn't finish the book, but that's because of her. So that's my girl, man. We're on the same wavelength. I actually talked to her today. So with the brain and with nutrition. So when she talks about blood sugar, for her it was a big aha moment that instead of focusing calories in, calories out, don't eat this, don't eat that, tapping into the psychology of why you're eating what you're eating, how you're eating what you're eating, that can fix a lot of things. And then these blood sugar spikes that are coming up, coming down, up and down, that's what's causing a lot of people's issues, whether it be hormones, whether it be weight gain, yo-yo dieting and exercising, all these different things. So she's really pinpointed this awesome course, which it's like 4 courses. It's all online, and I have one topic on how we neurohack blood sugar. But it's simple things like what decreases blood sugar spikes, like movement after the sugar consumption, or pairing it with protein, or pairing it with fat, or realizing, hey, do you even need that sugar? Maybe you need to, call a friend, give someone a hug instead. It's funny, there's this 100-year research study, and it compared like exercise, nutrition, like all these things for like longevity, I think was what they measured, and these different indicators for overall health, right? What was number one out of all of that? It was connection with meaningful relationships,
Yeah.
you know? So like
Yeah. I've read that in a couple places actually.
yeah. So very, very powerful to have like a network, a group of people around you, friends and family that you really like, enjoy their company. That's like one of the
Yeah.
so
100%, man. And it sounds like I need to connect with Gina. She sounds awesome, and you've
yeah,
mentioned her to me before.
100%.
But but no, man. I mean, another thing that comes to mind when it comes to what you're growing, what you're building. You talk about the neuroscience aspect. You talk about the physical aspect, the mindfulness aspect. What are some of those things that's worked for you, and what have you maybe adopted lately that you weren't thinking about before with your health? Because you're in this field, but you got to still push yourself as well. So what are some of those?
I laugh when people come to me, oh, I don't feel like working out today or whatever. I'm like, "Dude, you meet with me twice a week. Like, I work and imagine working in this gym all day, and then on your time off, you stay in the same place and you work out. Like, how many times that goes back to that mindset, man. You know how many times I did not want to work out, but
Yeah,
freaking did it anyway, and guess how I feel afterwards? 10 times.
always better.
The
Hmm.
hardest part is showing up at the gym. But I don't know, what was the question again? That got me fired
Yeah,
up.
basically, as of late for yourself, what are some newly adopted things that you've used for your health, maybe that you've been honing in on?
Over the past few years is really honing in on I do a lot of like vision drills, and if you look at the science behind the visual system and how much that means to the brain, like if there is a hierarchy, it is up here. 150 million neural signals per second that the brain gets from the visual system, and if you compare that to our joints and movement, that's only 9 to 30 million. So it's crazy. So really incorporating vision drills, and then I actually do, like you're talking about, breath work with that. So there's, a lot of people say breath work, but there's like so many different. I did a whole neuro course on breathing. Um, it was
Wow.
absolutely nuts. I couldn't tell you how many people I get out of pain with breathing drills. It's really crazy. Um, but that's been the big thing for me is like, and then I make sure I go outside and do my warm ups, and get full sun exposure. Try to go shirt off or tank top, get as much skin because dude, the sun does so much for us as well. We get energy from the sun, obviously vitamin D, but it's just so much more than that. And a lot of people don't get that. And I think that I do my 10 minutes, vision drills, joint drills, breath work, get that sun, and then I start my workout. So that's like
And
game changers.
have you switched anything up with maybe a morning routine at all?
Yeah, morning routine. I'm Muslim. I'm supposed to pray 5 times a day. Don't, but over the last, 5, 6 years, I've definitely stuck to praying, and the way we pray, it's kind of like yoga. So it's really good. Like just in the morning, like even, it's funny, like the guy that created my curriculum, it's funny. The more I learn about neuroscience, the more I'm actually into my religion. It's really crazy. And all religions, right? They all have, I'm sure, some kinds of connections. The more we learn about science, like, oh, I've been intermittent fasting. Oh, it's funny. I've been doing that since I was 9. Like, and not even intermittent, dry fasting, which is a whole nother thing. That's no food, no water. But anyway, the guy who created our curriculum, he was doing a full sensory warm up. So it's like, all right, this is like the best way to wake up, the brain with having the best communication to your body, and that's through the skin, because the skin is one of the largest organs in the human body, and your brain relies heavily on information from our skin to know like how this external environment feels, right? So, hey, this is a good way to do it. And it's funny, before we pray, we have this whole cleansing process, like washing your hands 3 times a day, gargling 3 times, water in the nose 3 times, the face, like the whole body before you pray. And it's like, damn, man. So, yeah, I might as well start my day like this. So it's like a sensory warm up followed by prayer, which is pretty much yoga and opening up all my joints. So, make my bed, do my wudu, which is like the cleansing, the sanitary cleansing of the body, sensory warm up, and then some yoga like stuff. But it's gratitude. You start the day with gratitude. It's like, yeah, I'm praying to God, but sure, I'm more so like thanking and, hey, there's a roof over my head. Thanks for the sunshine. Thanks for the rain. Like, thanks for my health. Like all these things, and like, so it's the simple things, and then anything that messes up your day after that, like it's not a big deal because you got these simple free things that'll make you feel full, you know?
Yeah. We just came full circle right there with that, man. And I once again, I appreciate you today, man. This has been great. This is something that a lot of people can get a lot out of as well. So I appreciate you throwing that in. I don't want to give your services away for free, but I feel like I did that today. So I appreciate you. I owe you. And also, man, where can they find some of your material or ways to work with you? Or your book, for instance, if it's still available, let the audience know where to seek all that.
Best way, Instagram. It's got all my info. My Instagram's Abe-Al-Baba, B-A-B-A, Abe-Al-baba, or 3-in-1 Elite. That's my company. The number 3, the word in, I as in indigo, N as in Nancy, the number 1, Elite. That's the 3 systems, 1 athlete.
And if you're watching this, you're wearing the shirt for it, correct?
Well, I
The
am.
logo and everything. Yep. Boom. There it is. There it is. And then if you're watching this as well, you'll see the book in the background there, Fuel Your Performance. And is it still available? Where can they find it?
Yeah, they can get it Amazon. Everything's easiest through my website because then you could like really see what it's about and all the testimonials. But there's a ebook, paperback, however you want to get it. I want to do Audible, but honestly, it's just been such a back burner. But
Yeah, bro. I mean,
online book.
you put 5 years into it. What's another few weeks of Audible?
It'd be cool. I thought about getting different because I it was a community that helped put that together. So like Gina was a big part of that. So like I'd love her to like read her little section, like pull in people that helped me finish it, you know.
Cool interactive thing. I love it, bro. And nah, man, I'm just thankful for today, thankful for you, and I appreciate you, man. And I can't wait to just help others with more episodes like this. So I appreciate you bringing it today. Crushed it per usual, man. And I'm super happy for you. I know you're going to crush it and continue to crush it like you've been doing and take it to new levels. That's what you've been doing and where you're headed. And I think one of the keys we talked about is investing in yourself. But if you got something out of this, please follow, share, subscribe, look us up, send a message, give us any feedback. But we appreciate you for listening or watching. However you're getting this today, you can check the posts on all the different social media outlets. I'll have some snippets of this. But hey, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. You and I just want to like point out to your audience, like, yo, me and Dave go way back in college, like lots of partying and stuff, having fun. Honestly, we like kind of rekindled. I had a book launch party, and he like I invited him out, and he came out, and like I could tell like his energy was different, and like I don't know, man. Since then, you came visit me in San Diego, like he's definitely like changed in many different ways, and talk about growth. You know, you came visit me, you did that whole trip to San Diego, then you traveled for a couple months, and then like we went to Colombia. Like anyway, it's just good energy. So I love to see you and your growth. I know this is about like interviewing me, but also like testament to you, man. So appreciate that and keep growing yourself.
Yeah, man, many more good times to come and many more adventures to come with you, that's for sure. But hey, man, hold tight. Once again, you're the man, and I appreciate you doing this today. And I'm looking forward to our part 2 of this in the future as well, man. I know it'll be coming because there's big things ahead for you.
I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Here we go. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night.